One moment, please. Just wait a second.
It's warming up. Probably can all hear us anyways.
I know.
Nobody's on. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. Do you think we need the microphone?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nicer this way. I like it. Everyone in the back, you can hear, right? Step back from it. How's this? Good. Can you hear? Okay. Not too overwhelming. We're pretty loud anyways. Okay, so thank you so much for coming. My name is Eloise.
My name is Ariel, and I'm from Waterbury Center.
Oh, I'm from Moortown. I'm from the Matador Valley, so
So we have a little
trespass.
unity here.
But yeah,
Valley, Waterbury.
we're just really thankful for such a great turnout, and to Hayeda for opening her bookstore to us tonight. So maybe we could all just have a little round of applause.
And we also want to thank Waterbury Winterfest and all the organizers of such a lovely event. So, yeah! Phil, Minter, Chad. Yeah, you guys are representing. Cool. Okay, so yeah, we wanted to make this sort of an open, accessible event for, I guess, everyone. So we just wanted to do it in like an open mic form. You can come up here and read poetry. You can read your own poetry. You can read someone else's. You can come up here and talk to people. You can really do whatever you
Just
want.
tell some stand-up comedy, some jokes.
We're not very good at that, so.
What else? If anyone has a beautiful singing voice, we'd love to hear it. If anyone knows how to beatbox, this mic is really conducive for beatboxing, and then we could add some hip-hop into this night as well. So really a diverse event with lots of different options for you. So if you haven't signed up yet, there is the sign-up sheets on the counter in the back, and feel free to sign up if you feel inspired throughout the event. But we do have already 14 amazing 14 amazing performers who are gonna go.
Yeah, I guess, well, one thing I wanted to say before we start off too is just that, so Eloise and I both went to Harwood, and actually in this room we have someone who is one of my most inspirational people, teachers, goddesses of this world. Her name is Miss Saul, so I'd like to give a round of applause to her. If any of you don't know her, I recommend getting to know her. She is a teacher. Wow, how do I say what she is? She's a teacher at Harwood Union High School, but also just sort of someone who I think for me and for Eloise and for so many people in our community has, I think, led the way and allowed us to see writing as something that's really special and really necessary, and above all, see all of ourselves as writers. So I think that's a huge reason why we're here doing this, and I just feel so honored that she's here tonight. That being said, I think a lot of my writing is so deeply grounded in Vermont and kind of this community and this town, so I think we both really wanted to do this event because we felt like it's such an amazing place, and there's so many amazing writers here, because I think to survive in Vermont, you have to be like kind of a poet. You have to sort of be crazy and thinking and being creative, because it's kind of a crazy place to live and be. So, okay, without further ado, our first poet or reader is Lori Reynolds Morrow. Did I pronounce that right? Cool.
I took the leap to go first because it's the first time I've read my work in public, and what a great friendly room I'm sensing here, so thank you. My name again is Lori Reynolds Morrow. I live up in Waterbury Center, in the center, and I am not native to Vermont. I grew up on the Connecticut shoreline. And that body of water right there, in case for those of us who are a little rusty, is Long Island Sound. And I'm going to read both of them together. And I explain that because there's some of that reference in one of these, so I didn't want to lose you while I was reading. My father's laughter. A hot and sticky summer day, standard fare for the shore. Then you heard my father's laughter. "Hold on," he'd cry, as he twirled me up higher and higher out from that salty sound. That water, always the same, light blue, unremarkable. Yet on this day, bearing sun-kissed ripples, appearing as though a sea of diamonds, the air filled with my father's laughter. Muffled outboard motors in the distance, children squealing, seagulls screeching, the wind fills a nearby sail. Above it all, my father's laughter. Walking with me in his arms, now away from the shoreline, deeper yet and farther out, my little nails digging into his biceps. As my eyes widen, with lips trembling, I cry, "No, Daddy." His laughter turns to a gentle giggle, and with eyes glistening, he says, "I won't let you go. I will never let you go." He never did. Sweet mother. Absent all of these years, yet your memory remains as crisp as the scalloped edges of your handkerchief. Yes, the one you would so deftly moisten with your saliva to clean the fresh dirt off of my tomboy face, scrubbing with great determination. In reading your poems, I drink in the passion of your life's challenges, all of your senses heightened. You were forever mindful, a practice I struggle with even today. Dare shall I even to dream of once again burying my little face into your neck, inhaling your sweet, very unique scent, my tears flowing so readily, leaving little rivers on my dirt-stained face. To hear your calm, soothing voice while you rub my back so gently. Breathe, little one, just breathe.
Thank you so much for sharing. That was so beautiful. Okay, so our next poet is, if I can pronounce this right, Garen Samuelson. Thanks.
Hey guys. This is actually my first time reading as well. My name's Garen, and I live in Waterbury, and I actually come from California, but this is my home, and it's a place I love. So, with no further ado, I'm going to read two. So here's the first. Standing at the edge of myself, morning stirred. A heavy fog flowed over the swollen river. Songs chimed from the water, chimed from the wind, chimed in gentle tides, flowing through the amphitheater of awareness. Upon the steep slope, trees rose in sensuous patterns. I savored the limber wet branches, reaching and arching, stretching into the blue canopy. I dove into a falling poem, read over its burgundy veins, its orange summits, its mountainous symmetry, and explored into heaven. Sounds of laughter let go from the river. Signs and visions welcomed me. Nothing could be caught and assimilated. Standing there, a dragonfly with God's eyes, I stood dancing, alone with it. So that's first. I groove, letting loose, dancing in stillness, dancing in the ever-changing scenery, unfolding within the infinite of myself. In beauty's undisguised light, presence is illuminated, thoughts disappear in the depths of listening. Here I groove with this consciousness, this wholeness, full of everything and nothing, and dive into its sublime wilderness. I groove with the jeweled earth, with its spinning and spinning seasonal tides. I groove with the revolving motions, buoyant in the sun's sea of gravity, grooving with nights filled with glittering stars and the communal moon. I groove with tides of water, the landscapes of change. I groove with the serpentine flows cascading down mountains, carving through valleys, arching their way back into the ocean's womb. I groove into powers of mist and its rush of rain, ice, and snow. I groove into the quilt of autumn's colors sifting through the forest tangle of trees. I groove into the landscapes of geometry and artistry, the asphalt spires splitting the sky, the throng and eloquence of all people. I groove as I walk through mazes woven through invisible cities and the gardens of forsaken paths. I drink in dark caverns, mulling over leaves of grass, and count to 12 and dine in stillness. I groove with cathedrals filled with symphonies of joy and the intensity of the requiem, and I take a walk down Brandenburg and Fifth Street while thinking 3 questions until I arrive at Golden Gate Park, and I sit while golden clouds parade around a deep blue sky and notice rabbits of Watership Down and listen in as young Campbell and Hesse are circled in dialogue. I pass through days and nights, other lifetimes mingle with the present, where jazz and the blues pulsate with the lingering fullness of compassion that curls through these winding streets. As I wander, I catch eyes with my heart of gold and listen to 3 little birds weave the here and now. I carry on the primordial beats of Uncle John's band and take a ride along Fetter Road. I get off to walk, and as the rain pours down, I find shelter in the folk songs that flow through this land. I observe people crying out, rising to the surface of a silent spring. They call to let freedom ring, and questions burst through poetic canvases while I walk along these crowded streets. There lies no beginnings or endings here. As I dance with both old and young, rich and poor, and lift my voice with theirs, and I find the answer blowing in the wind. So I let go, and I groove into beauty, I groove into the wilderness of it all. I groove into the moment of conception, the birth of a moment, the birth of life. I groove into the moment of death, endings and unknowns, burning out like flames. I groove mellow and free, for here in this joy the flow is all so wonderfully beautiful. So I stop and gaze for a moment. I breathe in and out the wonders that sift and flow through this utter stillness. And I find that here it all lies within the open horizons of myself.
Thank you so much for that poem. I really like thinking about California. Yeah, especially, it was Eloise and I actually both lived in California for one summer. We were lucky enough to live out there. And it's just so funny because, I mean, I've been there like once. We have some family out there, but I think for people on the East Coast, California is so much more than just a place. It's like this dream of like warmth and easy living or something. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Our third poet performer is someone near and dear to my heart. My uncle, my crazy uncle, Bill Minter. He will be performing, well, he'll tell you what he'll be performing.
So I saw this really long list out there, and I thought, I'm safe. She's not going to want me to perform. And then she said, are you going to do something? And I said, I know how I can get out of this. I'll say, I'm going to sing, Ariel. And I looked for that kind of look of confusion, like, no, you're not really going to sing. And she said, that's great. So people who know me well know I have this annoying habit of either whistling or singing the same, like, 3 chords or less over and over and over. I'm looking into the back, seeing nodding agreement from someone who will follow with her own lovely poem soon. So you all know the song Summertime. And the other thing I do when I'm doing the same thing over and over is I make up words to the same. So this is Wintertime. Wintertime, and the living ain't easy. Trees stand bare naked, all them leaves blown away. Sunrise up late now, and he go back down early. Storm clouds are brewing, and the skies are slate gray. But one of these mornings you're gonna wake up singing. See how them storm clouds brought their glory today. Everything is glistening white, and your friends are all calling. Wake up, sleepy baby, it's a bluebird powder day.
That was incredible. I think that even beat the original. I mean, definitely more specific to where we are. Yeah, gotta love that. If anyone knows Jacob Minter, that's his father, and Jacob Minter is a phenomenal singer, so I can now see where he
Say they skip generations.
Okay. Following that act is the sister act, aka Sue Minter. Let's hear it for Sue Minter.
Well, I guess I don't have time these days to be creative, so I'm turning to books. And I went to this very old book, a book of women poets, to begin a search yesterday next to the fire. And I'm just gonna, so I'm reading, I'm not performing or sharing my own writings. That's a long time ago now. And then I also have a couple of Robert Frost favorites to share as well. So in this big, large book of women poets, I figured it might be appropriate to share a poem by Ruth Stone, an American poet, called Liberation. We ladies sense it is the cuckoo builds no nest, to float the flower on the pond and hide the stem. That's to be as we are. God gives us recompense. Within the nursery one may smack and kiss, as among giggling nuns. The business is, secure the man when young, then repent, amid his willows and his streams. Sweet lioness, the sorcerer says in ugly dreams you have no bloodless sorrow. Whose bones attest to this? We ache, we grow fat, we are oppressed. Metamorphosis deceives our innocence. Morning after slips, the spider with her web across our lips. So I wanted to share, I can't imagine it as a poem that everyone hasn't already read, but I thought about it again today. It is actually, I think, the poem I put in my high school yearbook, and it is still something that resonates for me. The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. And then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet, knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And just to conclude with another Robert Frost, I think appropriate for this evening perhaps, stopping by woods on a snowy evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask me if there is some mistake. The only other sounds, the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep. But I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
Thank you, Sue. That was lovely. I have a memory of Robert Frost. I think Miss Stahl was teaching us about Robert Frost, and we were learning his poems in her class, and I loved thinking about him in Vermont, of course. You know, that woods is obviously some woods in Vermont to me. And my grandpa actually had Robert Frost as a professor when he was at college, and I remember talking to him, and my grandfather's a little bit of a curmudgeon, so I remember talking to him saying, oh man, Robert Frost, you had him as a teacher, because I think my mom told me that at some point, and he was like, yeah, he didn't really, it was just, I don't know why we read into all this stuff anyway, it didn't mean anything. That's my story about Robert Frost. My grandfather's the same man who, the only advice he would ever give to any of his his grandchildren, was to work hard and save your money. That was the pearl of his
Wise advice.
And she's following it.
All right, so with that note, I get a little family history in here. Don Schneider.
So thank you, Ariel, and for organizing this event. This is a poem I've returned to off and on throughout the years. It's a beat-up book, as you can see, not quite the size you have. But this poem was written in 1955 by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and it's called I Am Waiting. I am waiting for my case to come up, and I'm waiting for a rebirth of wonder. And I am waiting for someone to really discover America and wail. And I'm waiting for the discovery of a new symbolic western frontier. And I am waiting for the American eagle to really spread its wings and straighten up and fly right. And I am waiting for the age of anxiety to drop dead. And I am waiting for the war to be fought, which will make the world safe for anarchy. And I am waiting for the final withering away of all governments. And I am perpetually awaiting a rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for the second coming, and I am waiting for religious revival to sweep through the state of Arizona. I am waiting for grapes of wrath to be stored, and I am waiting for them to prove that God is really American. And I am seriously waiting for Billy Graham and Elvis Presley to exchange roles, seriously. And I am waiting to see God on television, piped onto church altars, if only they can find the right channel to tune in on. And I am waiting for the Last Supper to be served again with a strange new appetizer. And I am perpetually awaiting a rebirth of wonder. I am awaiting for my number to be called, and I am waiting for the living end. And I am waiting for Dad to come home, his pockets full of irradiated silver dollars. And I am waiting for the atomic test to end, and I am waiting happily for things to get much worse before they improve. And I am waiting for the Salvation Army to take over. And I am waiting for the human crowd to wander off a cliff somewhere, clutching its atomic umbrella. And I am waiting for Ike to act, and I am waiting for the meek to be blessed and inherit the earth without taxes. And I am waiting for forests and animals to reclaim the earth as theirs. And I am waiting for a way to be devised to destroy all nationalisms without killing anybody. And I am waiting for linnets and planets to fall like rain. And I am waiting for lovers and weepers to lie down together again in a new rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for the great divide to be crossed, and I am anxiously waiting for the secret of eternal life to be discovered by an obscure general practitioner and save me forever from certain death. And I am waiting for life to begin, and I am waiting for the storms of life to be over. And I am waiting to set sail for happiness, and I am waiting for a reconstructed Mayflower to reach America with its picture story and TV rights sold in advance to the natives. And I am waiting for the lost music to sound again in the lost continent in a new rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for the day that maketh all things clear, and I am waiting for Old Man River to just stop rolling along past the country club. And I am waiting for the deepest South to just stop reconstructing itself in its own image. And I am waiting for a sweet, desegregated chariot to swing low and carry me back to Old Virginia. And I am waiting for Old Virginia to discover just why darkies are born. And I am waiting for God to look out from Lookout Mountain and see the ode to the Confederate dead as a real farce. And I am waiting retribution for what America did to Tom Sawyer, and I am perpetually awaiting a rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for Tom Swift to grow up, and I am waiting for the American boy to take off Beauty's clothes and get on top of her. And I am waiting for Alice in Wonderland to retransmit to me her total dream of innocence. And I am waiting for Child Roland to come to the final darkest tower, and I am awaiting Aphrodite to grow live arms at a final disarmament conference in a new rebirth of wonder. I am waiting to get some intimations of my immortality by recollecting my early childhood, and I am waiting for the green mornings to come again, youth's dumb green fields come back again, and I am waiting for some strain of unpremeditated art to shake my typewriter, and I am waiting to write the great indelible poem, and I am waiting for the last long careless rapture, and I am perpetually waiting for the fleeing lovers on the Grecian urn to catch each other up at last and embrace, and I am awaiting perpetually and forever a renaissance of wonder.
Our next performer, our next reader is David Goodman, reading a pretty special book, and he can explain a little bit more why that connection is so special.
I chose for my reading a book and a man that has special resonance for me and my family. Long Walk to Freedom is Nelson Mandela's autobiography. And this book, this dog-eared book, actually led us to move to South Africa, my family, including Ariel, my daughter, when she was 4. And this was kind of the, well, in many ways, the inspiration and the narrative. It's over 700 pages, so it took us more than a month to read. Sue and I were passing it back and forth, stealing it from one another. And it ultimately led me to meet Mandela and spend a day visiting jail with him, his last prison, which I wrote about a few weeks ago in the newspaper just after he died. These are the closing paragraphs of Long Walk to Freedom. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free, free in every way that I could know. free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself, the transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That's when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was the desire for freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. It was during those long and lonely years that my hunger for the freedom of my own people became a hunger for the freedom of all people, white and black. I knew as well as I knew anything that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. When I walked out of prison, that was my mission, to liberate the oppressed and the oppressor both. Some say that has now been achieved, but I know that that is not the case. The truth is that we are not yet free. We have merely achieved the freedom to be free, the right not to be oppressed. We have not taken the final step of our journey, but the first step on a longer and even more difficult road. For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. The true test of our devotion to freedom is just beginning. I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way. But I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. I have taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back on the distance I have come. But I can rest only for a moment, for with freedom come responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my long walk is not yet ended.
Thank you, David. That was beautiful. So we're going to have one last poet, and then we're going to take a little break, eat some more crackers and cookies and cheese, and then we're going to come back. So our last poet for this first half is my best friend, Eloise.
Thank you so much for reading that. It's incredible. I think if anyone hasn't read that book, yet, or even, I will say, you can also go watch the movie, but you should read the book. The movie's out right now, but this book's also being sold here. And it's just like it'll change your life. Those, how many paragraphs? 4 paragraphs are just like, I don't know, they really hit my core, and I think that the whole entire book will give you like his story, and he's a powerful man, and a humble man. Thanks for reading that. I have 2 poems by other people, and maybe 1 or 2 by myself. So I think I'll read the first 2 by 2 other women, and then maybe I'll read 1 of mine. This is by Poet Laureate Rita Dove. She was a Poet Laureate from 1993 to 1995. It's from her book 12 Chairs. It's called, okay. 4th Juror. Cancel the afternoon, evenings, morning all. The days to come until the fire fall to ash, the fog clears, and we can see where we really stand. 5th Juror. How long will this take? I am not my brother, thank you. My hands are full already, taking care of myself. 12th Juror. Why is the rose? How is the sun? Where is first? When is last? Who will love us? What will save us? The alternate. And who are you? Nobody. What do you do? I am alive. But who will vouch for you? Listen closely, you'll hear the wind. I like that. And this is by Anne Sexton. So my stepfather has this really awesome bookshelf that when I was really young, it was much taller than I was. And it's like a pyramid, sort of like, or like a Christmas tree, like when you're drawing a Christmas tree and you have those, all the little triangles out like that. It looks like that. And he had Anne Sexton, and I didn't know who that was, but I thought she was really beautiful. She's on the cover, like very, dreaming. And so I always read her poetry. And this one I just found in this book, and so I'm gonna read this one, which I love. I found it today. Okay, it's called Riding the Elevator into the Sky. As the fireman said, don't book a room over the 5th floor in any hotel in New York. They have ladders that will reach further, but no one will climb them. As the New York Times said, the elevator always seeks out the floor of the fire and automatically opens and won't shut. These are the warnings that you must forget if you're climbing out of yourself, if you're going to smash into the sky. Many times I've gone past the 5th floor, cranking upward, but only once have I gone all the way up. 60th floor, small plants and swans bending into their grave. Floor 200, mountains with the patience of a cat, silence wearing its sneakers. Floor 500, messages and letters centuries old, birds to drink, a kitchen of clouds. Floor 6,000, the stars, skeletons on fire, their arms singing, and a key, a very large key that opens something, some useful door, somewhere up there. I love that one. All right. Okay, yeah. So like Ariel said, there is so much of my writing that is really rooted in Moortown and the Mad River Valley and Vermont, I guess in general, and a lot of, I think, the way that I write comes from the specific experience when I was in high school, where Miss Stahl would read these poems, and it's a really kind of sacred experience because her room is a very sacred place, and you find yourself like diving into the core of yourself more than any other way that, I don't know, you get a prompt and you write something, but it's this, basically you read a poem and then you write, not a response, but like where you go from that poem. So I always like find myself doing that even though I'm maybe not reading a poem beforehand, but yeah, I think it's largely influenced by that. So I'm very happy she's here as well. So, let's see what I'm gonna read.